With over 500,000 trees and shrubs already planted and growing, it's easy to forget you are in the city. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Hello and welcome to Real Talk with me, Anele, right here on SABC3, where the stage is yours. So with the gross inequalities in the country's socio-economic landscape, millions of disadvantaged, disabled, elderly and child-headed households rely on their monthly allowances from SASSA to survive. In the past months, the agency and the Minister of Social Development have come under fire for mismanagement and the uncertainty as to whether grants were going to be paid in May or not. The uncertainty was resolved as millions received their grants, but it seems the storm is far from over. Today on the couch, we have Vuyokazi Fuchane, who is the SADC Basic Income Grant and Basic Needs Basket Project Coordinator. It's a mouthful. Under the Studies in Poverty and Inequality Institute. Wow, I wonder how long your business card is. Later, we'll speak to Rendani Muraga, who receives a child grant for her and her child, and Homucho Diseko, the SASSA Media Relations Senior Manager. Let's get into it. There is a lot that we need to go through. First things first, you and I are serving here today. Hey. I need to talk about the basic grants, like there's a basic incomes grant. Can you explain that to somebody who's never even heard about it?
So the campaign that I work on, the SADC Basic Income Grant campaign, is a campaign that calls for the rollout of a universal, unconditional, no means tested, accessible to everybody in the SADC region basic income grant.
That is as long as your title.
So essentially what it is, we're proposing that this basic income grant firstly be a minimum of $15 per month. Okay. So this would be a grant that would be accessible to everybody. There is no means testing. So you don't have to prove that you're poor, you need the grant. It's accessible to everybody. It's universal. There are no strings attached to this grant.
Okay, and so if you're making 3 million rand a year, you can still go and get it?
You can still get the grant.
So you are now relying on my conscience whether or not I want it.
Besides relying on people's conscience, there will also be, the introduction of a wealth tax that will then, the money from the people who would be earning higher and don't necessarily need the grant. So it's all going to be redirected back. You know what I mean?
So you guys are proposing that everybody must get $15 basic, and I shouldn't be able to prove that I'm poor. I shouldn't be able to prove that I'm a child who's heading a household. I shouldn't be able to prove that I've got so many kids. That's just how much money I get. Now, is that a basic? So would I then be able to apply for a bit more than that if I need more?
So with the concept of a universal basic income grant, right? So in other parts of the world, like Europe, that's taken off far more than it has now. So they have a basic income grant pilot in Canada. There's one in Finland. The Swiss had a referendum last year on the implementation of a basic income grant, which would be about $3.5 per month. But then the difference between their model and the model we're proposing is that because it's a minimum amount, it's meant to supplement the existing social grants.
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah,
now
so that's the difference between the European and the global concept of a universal basic income grant and the one that we're proposing for the SADC region.
But also now you're basing, everything on first world countries. I mean, the Nordic regions like Finland, they find, you know what I'm saying? Everybody you've just mentioned to me, it seems like there wouldn't be so many people who need this grant as opposed to us. I mean, 17 million people, that's almost a third of the country are under grants.
The thing is that I think it's relevant here more than it is even there.
Okay.
And so by referring to that, we can draw on lessons. If countries that are that advanced, that are that progressed,
are still taking care
of social welfare, when we are here, what does that say about us? So thus far, the grants are not adequate enough to support families and stuff like that. So there is a need for additional, social protection mechanisms that will make sure that the poorest of the poor are not as destitute and vulnerable as they are currently now.
Okay, so before I ask you the next question, which has to do with South Africa and the grant system and the socio-economic conditions, I want to know from you, who are you asking this from?
So,
because it looks like you guys you've got the documents, you're ready to go, you're ready to present, but who are you presenting to?
It was Kwame Nkrumah who said that her soils are rich, yet the products from above and below the ground don't enrich predominantly Africans,
yes,
but act to impoverish Africans, if anything. So we are proposing that this money come from a tax on extractives. So we're saying that the money is here, and the money is from the revenue generated from the extractive industry. It's estimated that annually we lose about $60 billion through illicit financial flows.
So already the money that people are getting taxed, in that, there's 60 billion that we're not kind of managing properly.
Yeah, so it's not the money that people are getting taxed, it's the revenue that's generated from the production of gold, et cetera, et cetera. So now that money through illicit financial flows is being lost, and it's not actually being taxed within our region, within the country. So there is revenue, but then there are not any policies that are there to ensure that this money actually gets redistributed within Africa instead of being channeled out through, tax havens and all of that stuff.
So basically, you guys want to launch a criminal inquiry into laundering of cash.
No, we want to hold multinational corporations accountable. The mining, there needs to be accountability, there needs to be transparency, because mineral resources generate a lot of revenue for Africa. So what happens when all of the minerals have been mined out of Africa? Because these are not infinite resources. There will come a day when they're finished. They're finished. Yeah. And then what will be left is devastation of our environment, of, our socio-political.
So is this what your company does? Is that what you guys do? You guys are proposing? I'm fascinated. I don't want to lie to you.
It's one of the things that we do. So that's the specific campaign that I work on
right now.
Yeah, the SADC Basic Income Grant campaigns.
And you believe, let's get to that socio-economic question now, and you believe that grants do contribute positively to the socio-economic conditions of a country?
I mean, definitely yes.
Okay.
I mean, without a doubt, that's a yes from me, because when it comes to socio-economic contribution, for one, if there are 17 million South Africans who rely on the grant in order to be economic participants, what happens when the grant is no longer there and then we take away the means for those people to contribute to the economy? Then that would have devastating effects on the economy in general. Because that money is used to buy goods, which is then redistributed in our economy
the GDP of the country.
Exactly. So what happens when that is taken away? And in terms of, the social side of it, grants contribute to, human capital development. So because of social grants, mothers can be able to take care of things like nannies and stuff like that while they go to work. So, it contributes to better education, it contributes to better healthcare, even in terms of nutrition, which is critical in terms of the cognitive development of young children. So in the long term, it might not seem like it has immediate effects right now because it's just a small amount that's being given to them. But the long-term effects...
the little they can do with it goes a long way inside their household.
Exactly. The investment, the ability to increase their social wage, investment in their human development, and the potential to lift the next generation out of poverty. Yeah.
Okay, that's the line. Lift the next generation out of poverty. Please give me your company name again. I want to go Google them and just read up more tonight because I'm fascinated.
The Studies in Poverty and Inequality Institute. I know it's a long name.
It's very long.
Bye.
Fuchana, thank you so much. You were really quite insightful. Before we go, don't forget that, before we go take a break, not go forever, it's still quite early for that. Don't forget to enter the at-home weekly competition by simply following the instructions on your screen. You could win yourself a 5,000 rands e-gift voucher. Do not delay because the competition closes midnight tomorrow and then I'll be announcing the winners on Friday. You don't enter, you don't win, then you're upset. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Real Talk on SABC3. Today we're talking social grants, and right now we welcome Rendani Muraga, a child support grant beneficiary. Later on in the show, I'll be chatting to Komucho Diseko, SASSA Senior Manager Media Relations. Right now, want to talk to these faceless people because we've been talking about it for months now. Oh, SASSA this, CPS that. I want to talk to one of the people who actually benefit from it, and she's here. Rendani, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So how long have you been receiving grants?
Oh my gosh, it's like 15 years right now.
15 years?
Yes.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 33.
33.
Do I look young?
You look very young. You look like 23 at best.
Okay.
So you've been receiving it since you were a child?
Yes, I've been receiving since I was a child, and then I get birth to my child, and then I receive that also.
So when you give birth to a child, does yours stop, or do they carry on giving you your one and then you can apply for your child?
No, they carry on until I was 18.
Oh, okay.
Because I was 17 by then.
Okay.
Yes.
I understand you have a part-time job. Every now and then you are able to work.
Yes, I do.
So does that not then put you out of the a chance to get a grant for your child then, if they're saying, but you're working, therefore you can afford to have your child?
Yes, I'm working, but I don't think that can really have to do with my working, because I don't have a problem with the child grant support.
Oh, okay. So SASSA will pay your child grant until your child is 18 as well?
Yes, until she's 18.
Oh, okay. So when you were a child and you were 15 and you were younger and you started getting the social grant, was it difficult? Did you apply? Who told you about it?
Okay, I heard it from the other family members. They advised me to do so. Because before I get my grant support from my child grant support, I was having another, that's for the orphanage, because we don't have parents. I've got two ladies, like my sisters. Yeah, they're under me. I'm like their beneficiary.
Their beneficiary. Yes. So you were the child who was heading up the household.
Yes.
So then what was the process? Like which building did you go to? What forms did you have to fill out?
Okay, it was very easy.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So my neighborhood just advised me, you know what, girl, this is what you can do. You can just go to the social workers, please explain your situation, tell them that you are the breadwinner, you're still young, you are a breadwinner, then at least they will help you. And then I went there to the social workers. I speak to them. They said, okay, you don't have parents. I said, yes, I don't have parents. They said, okay, can you give us your death certificate for your parents?
Yes.
Then I submitted the death certificates, and then it didn't take long. The same month, I started to get money for my two younger sisters because I was already getting grant.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then your two younger sisters, how old are they now?
And now the other one is 28, and then this other one is 26.
And do they work?
No, they're not working, depending on this money.
On the money, do they also have children?
Yes, they also have children.
Okay. So now let me ask a question. Somebody who's watching this, you know, they're like watching in their house and they work and they don't get grants, and they're watching you. Your hair is nice, you look beautiful, because there's a certain way poor people are supposed to look, right? You know, you're supposed to be destitute and, you know, not
No.
Do you know?
I won't agree with you.
And but that's the thing. This is the misconception that we have, people who just pay tax and we don't receive grants. We think, okay, the people who are receiving these grants, they don't have anything, they don't have clothes, they have nothing. Argue that. Why you look good? Why do you need a grant?
I look good, yes. I'm managing that money, that grant money, because my child needs it as well. I also need it because I'm not getting enough. I know that money won't be enough, but I'm not really getting enough to support my child.
This is what's going to be my next question. How much do you get as a grant for your child?
That's 380 rand.
380?
Yes.
Ooh, is it enough?
Actually, I can't say so.
I know you don't want to look ungrateful.
Yes,
you don't want to look ungrateful, but okay, without me, if I'm prying into your life, please say, Anele, stop being nosy, move on to the next question. 380, what do you do with it? Let's go through it.
Okay, the 380 that I get, I give my child 5 rand. She's a teenager now. Okay. I can't let her go to school without something to buy.
Okay, yes.
She's a teenager
5 rand every day?
5 rand every day.
Okay.
Ne? And then she's paying 180 rand for the transport to go to school. You understand me? She still needs lunch box. She still needs textbooks. You know, she's
Uniform.
Yeah, uniform, jerseys. Now it's
Hair.
winter. Like
Roll on,
roll on.
sanitary
She's
towels.
a teenager,
Yeah.
and I can't just say, okay, because I'm receiving this grant money, then I'll use it to myself. Because people out there, they're saying, oh, look at this lady now. She's lying. She's not working. She doesn't get enough. Look at her. Look at her look. Look at her weave. She afford to buy makeup.
Because girl, your weave is
Yeah.
good. Like I've seen, this is one of the best weaves I've seen.
She afford to buy makeup. She afford to buy everything.
Yeah.
She look fine.
I can on Twitter they're like, she's even got a gold tooth, guys.
Yeah.
That is no one who needs money.
And others, on the other hand, they will be saying, oh, that one, she's eating the child money's grant. Look at her. All the weave. Like, do you really think 380 rand can buy this weave
So
and my
basically
look and
you're using it to
everything?
assist you
Assist
to
my
run your
child.
household.
Yes, and my household as well, since I'm a breadwinner.
You're a breadwinner.
Yes.
You are the one in charge.
Yes.
So earlier this year, there was a lot of, it was all over the papers and the social development minister, Minister Batabile Dlamini, she was in the papers.
Yes, I
there was
saw
a
that.
company, CPS, that they're not going to pay your guys grants. Are they going to pay them? Were you aware of what was going on, and were you concerned that you were not going to get your money?
Yes, I was really, really concerned because sometimes, as a part-time worker, sometimes, they don't pay us in time. So if they don't pay me in time, how am I going to pay my child's transport?
Okay.
You see?
Yes.
And then how am I going to afford to give her at least that 5 rand for something for the snack nyana at school,
like the guinya or something.
or something. So how am I going to afford that if because I'm working, yes, but it's a part-time job that I'm working. So that's why I'm saying that I'm really, really grateful about that money. It's really
helps
helps me out.
And what's the communication between SASSA and you guys? Are you sent SMSs to let you know, okay, your money is in? Or if, like now, when there was this big media problem,
Yes.
were you being communicated to that, listen, guys, there might be a problem, you might not get your money, this might happen, your money's coming a day later, a day earlier. What was the communication
No,
like?
my love. Honestly, we never had an SMS. Like maybe somebody out there, but I never had an SMS. Like I was very, very concerned that, oh my God, this month I won't gonna get money. I'm not even sure when I'm going to receive my payment that side. So I don't know. I don't really know what I'm gonna do because that money when it comes in, I start with those basics like
Yes.
transport for my child.
Yeah.
And then the others, if something is short then or maybe there's no meal or something, then I start with that first. Then when my pays come in, then I pay everything.
Then you go on
Yes.
to like
Then
things
I'll
that
go
we
to,
deem
like, yeah, things that-
luxuries.
Yes.
All right. And has it always been 380?
No, it's like it was 360.
Oh, and then it went
Yes.
up to
Then
380.
it went up to 380.
And a lot of criticism that came through about the current system was that you guys are charged for funeral plans, for insurances. They deduct a lot of money out of your money before you get it.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
What do you mean, oh my gosh?
What a rumor.
Is it a rumor?
It's a rumor, Tali, because I've never been deducted any money from my social child grant. Never, ever.
Then where did people
Never,
get this
ever.
story from?
I don't know where are they getting them. So I don't know whether if they are receiving another child support grant from somewhere else. I don't know. But from SASSA, the SASSA that I know, I'm receiving my money just like that. Doesn't charge anything.
No bank charges,
No
nothing.
bank charges,
Comes
nothing.
straight to
Even
you.
when you go to draw, you find it like that.
You find it as 380.
It's 380.
So it's not
Doesn't
like
charge you.
375, 5 rand bank
yeah,
charge.
or like 370, then 10 rand was bank fees or what. You can draw anywhere in the shops, at the bank.
Simple.
Like that,
Okay, when we come back, I want to find out where you actually go and get your money because it's quite interesting. But luckily, after the break, we'll continue with our topic. If you have any questions and comments, tweet us using the details on the screen. Don't go anywhere. We're getting an official person from SASSA in studio after the break. Come back. And welcome back. You're still watching Real Talk with Anele right here on SABC3. South Africa's social system has expanded drastically since 1994, with nearly a third of South Africans receiving at least one social grant from the state. The largest of these social assistance schemes being Child Support Grant. We welcome Homucho Tiseko, the SASSA Media Relations Senior Manager, and still on the couch, Rendani Muraga, a Child Support Grant beneficiary. And we're going to just further discuss this topic. First things first, I know someone is like, you're saying his name wrong. You're saying it's Homucho. Your name is Homucho.
Homucho, correct.
Homucho, okay,
Yeah,
just so I can cover
very
myself,
well. Yes,
so people
yeah,
don't
correct.
think that I am the one here who needs to go and take a nap. Let's talk about, the social grants, and you from SASSA side. First things first, your complexion is good for somebody who's gone through so much turmoil in the last 3 months with the media saying this and you guys saying that. She says that no one is deducting money from their accounts, insurance stuff. Why was that reported?
When these things are reported, there's a generalization that is made also, as if these problems affect everybody. To date, we've received less than 95,000 complaints. Less than 95,000 complaints, and we pay over 17 million people. So it's a fraction of that big
look
number.
at the ratio
indeed,
of the two.
yeah. But yeah, the truth is that we do have that problem from some unscrupulous service providers who some of our beneficiaries go voluntarily to and say we're asking for a loan. They say sometimes we're asking for electricity on credit, or we asking for water on credit, or cell phone airtime, or any other financial service, So that's where the problem starts. Once those guys have got your number, even after you have paid fully what you had owed them, there might still be consequences,
Kind of like a garnishing order, right? Where they're just taking money from you without you even knowing.
Yes, that's how it happens. So we always advise our people never to use the SASSA cards for purposes of, entering into contracts with service providers who sell them some silly financial services.
So when you say you advise them, is it you gently nudging them, or are there rules that say, listen, this is for your basic needs, like she was saying, your water, your school fees, this is for basic needs, not for luxuries like airtime?
We have an ongoing beneficiary education campaign that we run. We go to the people, the real people. We go to them and address them in halls, community halls, sometimes in the tribal authority areas. We go there. We also talk a lot through the media. We go to schools, give children pamphlets to spread the word around as to how people should be, playing responsible in terms of spending their social grants. We put a lot of emphasis on that. And we also advise them on this issue of unscrupulous service providers. We also advise them on that. But yeah, the problem is going away, but steadily so. It's not as fast as we expected, because some of the people are in dire straits. Some people believe that their grant is not enough, so they supplement it with a loan, forgetting that they are making life even more difficult for themselves. A loan can never supplement a grant, because the grant itself is not an income. I'm not sure whether...
It's a subsidy.
Yes, it's just an assistance to say, look, take this money, use it for your basic needs.
Okay. Then where do you go and get your money? At what point?
Okay, I started, I'm born and bred in Venda, so I started there before I came here in 2004. So when I came here, I did have a problem because I couldn't draw the money.
Okay.
Yes, I couldn't get hold of my grant money.
How?
Then I went to SASSA here in Joburg. Then I went there and then speak to them. They said, okay, what we need to do, we just need to transfer you from that where you're coming from to this region in Gauteng. Then from there, then you'll get your money. Then they needed my ID and my child's birth certificate only. Then after that,
simple.
Yeah.
So where do you go? Do you go to a shop? Do you go to a bank? Do you go to the post office?
You mean when I need my money?
When you need your money, on the day you're going to get your money, where's the point?
Okay, for me, it's very much easier on the shops, because they allow us to go ShopRite, Checkers, Pick and Pay, and get that money, banks as well. So month end, it's a very long queue. So you can't stand there, like seriously, you can't stand there. So it's a very long queue. So sometimes I went to the shops, sometimes I went to the bank.
The bank.
So it depends.
So it's easy. It's easy. There's many points of withdrawal that you can go to if you're getting your grant.
No, indeed, you've got multiple channels. Before 1994, people used to get their money from the pay points, the long queues that she's talking about. But we intervened after the new government came in. And at the moment, you can be able to get your money. You can swipe for goods at a shop.
Yeah.
You can swipe for cash back at selected retailers. You can go to small merchants and get your money. You can go to an ATM. So there's multiple channels that people are using, and they're very convenient for them.
And are there, I'm going to ask rumors now, is there any truth to...
Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead. You've got to deal with
You have to deal with that. Now I want to talk rumors. Is there any truth to the fact that, I mean, I know the post office has just been given the go-ahead that they can become a bank, right? And so is there any truth to that SASSA could move over and the grant system will be rolled out using the post office?
Yes, the post office is going to be one of our payment channels. In fact, before 2012, we were using the post office, so it's not a new thing. It won't be a new thing. In terms of our plans going forward, we are going to use them.
And then also there's no truth to the rumor that you guys want to take everything and run it in-house, where you guys are doing everything, including the distribution.
That's where we want to go finally.
Why?
That's where we want to go finally, because I mean, we've been talking here on the show about the fact that, you know, the fiscus does not have, it's got finite funds, and the cake is becoming smaller every year. If you can look at the budget speeches every year.
True. We have to tighten our belts.
Yes, so it's part of tightening our belts. We want to do this thing ourselves. It's not an easy task, but you are up to the task. We think we will manage that. And as a result, we will be able to save a lot of money that we're paying to service providers.
What annual review do you guys do to see that all 17 million people that you are giving grants are still all needy of the grants?
Randani will tell you, now and again, we do call them to our offices and say to them that, please come and see us to confirm whether your financial situation has changed or whether you are still alive or not, because we don't want to pay money to ghost beneficiaries. And some people have got twins. We want to make sure that, you know, indeed they have twins. Some of them have triplets. And we've been defrauded in the past, you know, by a person with one child who registers the child 3 times with different names. Now, 3 years down the line, they've got another set of triplets. So to deal with those potential threats, we from time to time call our people to the offices by registered mail. According to the law, we send them registered mail, and then they come to the offices with the documents that she mentioned, birth certificate of the child, for instance, in the case of a child support grant, and the ID.
And the affidavit.
And an affidavit to say, this is where I stand financially. 3 months bank statement, etc. So from time to time, we do run a check to say, these people, are they still the same people that applied?
Oh, okay. So you just have like spot checks, because I mean, to go through 17 million people,
yes.
You know, so yearly you just check different people to see that their financial standing is still the same.
Yes.
And is there a number that people call and to get information? Maybe I think I deserve a grant. Like, what's my first point of contact if I want to ring SASSA?
No, indeed. People can contact us on Facebook and Twitter. They can also contact us on 0800 60 10 11. They can also go physically to our offices. We've got offices all over the country.
Have you ever been checked to see if you are still...
Yes, they stopped my grant. I was furious. I was very, very furious. I went to the ATM. I was like, yes, the card is not working.
What is going on
this
here?
money. What is going on? What is going on?
Yeah, the government
money
was like,
stopped.
yeah.
You know what? I asked the other lady. She said, no, you know what? Go to the offices and find out what's happening there, because you will sit here and not knowing what's going on, and then you just say, oh my God, they stopped my grant money. No, man, you go to the office.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, they just want to make sure that you
I
still
went to
need
the offices, and by the offices, they told me to bring my child as well, just to confirm if she's still alive, and I'm still alive as well. Then my copy of ID, birth certificate, and the affidavit then continues.
Yeah. All right. Rendani, thank you so much for joining us. You've really, like I said, it's like a faceless thing where you hear about these people getting grants, and to sit and to talk to somebody who's getting it and to see that you're actually doing well with it, it's enlightening and it's nice. Thank you for giving us your time. You are staying, you're going nowhere. After the break, we continue our discussion, and you can be part of the conversation by sending us your 20-second voice clips to our WhatsApp number that you see on the screen. We'll see you after this. And we're back. We're getting straight back into our topic with Khomotso Tiseko from SASSA. So last week, the Minister of Social Development, Umamba Tabile Dlamini, said that you guys need about 6 billion rand for the next 5 years to ensure that the social grant system, carries on. And like Rendani said to us, it basically cuts, poverty so that the line of poverty does not carry on. So much money.
Yeah, no. The minister clarified this thing in Parliament yesterday. She was appearing before SCOPA, and she did mention the fact that it was an estimate, a rough estimate that she had made. But we are still going to go to SCOPA and report about the details. They want the details. You got line item. If you say 50 rand is for what, 20 rand is for what, and this is the total. So we're still going to go back there and give them a proper budget and say, this is what we are estimating that we're going to need.
So when I think of the department, social development, and the way it works in hand with SASSA, surely you want the poverty lines to end, right? So is there a way in which there is an entrepreneurship, like department to it? Because you don't want people to be destitute and to rely on you guys forever. Ideally, you want them to use their money to better themselves so that they can take themselves off welfare. Is there a program in there that is aimed at that?
Those programs sit with social development. They've got a number of programs like the ECBND program and so on. I wish they were here to go into details about what they are doing, because we are just on the operational side of paying grants.
Do you know what the numbers are in terms of the 17 million people? Because I'd read somewhere that of the 17 million people who receive grants, 12 million of them are children.
That is correct.
Is that correct?
Yes. There's children have got the highest uptake of grants, followed by the old age grant, followed by the disability grant, and then the others.
So the old age grant, for them, it's not as, if you're 80, 85 years old and you're
60 and above.
60 and above, it's not as easy as for you to get up and go and get your money. Is there a system where there's, like those library trucks that go around that have books inside, or even the ice cream truck? Is there a system where there can be a truck that makes its way into rurals to make sure that the elderly don't have to, say, go 60 Ks or 100 Ks that way to get their grant?
I really wish you could do that, but we must also balance that with the levels of crime in the country.
I was going to say, like the cash ice creams are watching and they're like, yeah, do it like
innovation
that.
we like. But what happens in rural areas, we do have people have got debit cards. The SASSA card is a debit card.
Yes.
And if people are not able to go to cash points, they're able to appoint what we call procurators. Proxies, in simple terms. People who can, shuttle between the home and the ATM or the shop and bring the goods back to the older people. But what is good is that our offices are within 5 kilometers radius from each and every beneficiary. That is our standard all over the country.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And in the case that we have, where we don't have physical offices, we've got a mobile service that services each and every area, whether rural or urban.
Yes. So let's say I applied for a grant and I was denied. What are one or two of the reasons why I would be denied for a social grant?
It would be one of many reasons. Either, like in the case Rendani, who was here, is a good example. She is working, but she's receiving a grant. People are surprised. How does that happen? But we must remember that she's earning below the threshold. So you can only get a grant if you earn up to a certain amount of money. If you are above that, you don't qualify for a grant. Even Rendani could have explained that perhaps better, because from her own experience. But generally, according to our rules, that's how it works. Another reason would be, for instance, in the case of disability grant, that's why you have the biggest problems, because people, go out of offices very angry sometimes. Because what happens is that when you apply for a disability grant, you must go to a doctor. There are what we
Yes.
call SASSA doctors, who are paid by SASSA, who will then do an assessment on a person to determine the level of illness, and whether they will qualify for a temporary disability grant or a permanent disability grant. Now, if the recommendation from the physician who saw you says that
You can see.
you are not as you are not as disabled,
say, I can't
yes,
say.
yes, that type of thing, then people get very angry with us. But there's also recourse. If your grant has been not approved, it's within your rights. You can appeal straight to the Minister of Social Development, and the forms are available at every SASSA office. They will also help you in terms of filling them in. Then you put in an appeal and say, I'm not happy with the decision of the officials who were going through my application. Yes.
So then when it comes to the security, because I've also considered this, because like you said, the levels of crime in our country are insane. When it comes to the security of me going to say, get my 500 Rand, around that area, is the security for even the elderly who are taking their money to make sure that they don't get mugged?
At our cash pay points, we do have securities.
Okay.
We do have security guards who ensure that the money is delivered safely and people are not threatened in any way whatsoever.
Oh, perfect. Yes. And I want to go through the levels of grants. So 380, what's the lowest you can get from the state, from SASSA, and what's the highest one gets?
The lowest is actually the child support grant.
Which is 380.
Which is 380. That's why it's got so many people. It's about 2/3 of our beneficiaries are on child support grants.
Okay.
And the highest you can get is if you're over 75 and you're on an old age grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the highest that you can get. It's about 1,700. Yes.
And when it comes to me applying for varsity and all of that stuff, does it, because I know there's varsity students who like to make jokes, I've got my SASSA card, let's go party. Do you also cover varsity students under the SASSA grants scheme?
We cover them only if they're not over 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So 18 years is a cutoff for child support grant, unless if it's a foster child grant. Foster child grant, I think you can get up to 21. Okay. But at 18, you have to go to a social worker and fill in forms that will be brought to SASSA to say this person is over 18, but they're still in this situation where they're in dire need of these funds. So we put in a sort of an extension up to 21.
Do you not, because the most crit that the SASSA grants will get will be from people who say, do you not think that you're creating a passive state of people who just don't want to work, don't want to get up and do anything? The only thing they want to do is go to the government and put their hands out like this.
Yeah, we've heard those comments. They're not very helpful.
Of course.
But we never sat on our hands, after hearing those things. We went out to research institutions and said, this is what some of the people are saying. Is it true? So there is research that has been done by credible authorities, for instance, institutions such as the University of Johannesburg, for instance, and the HSRC, the United Nations Institute that looks after children, the UNICEF.
Yes.
They have done thorough research, which has disproved that myth that says that people, do not deserve these grants. They must go and work, and some people get babies because they want a grant.
Yes, that's a very big one.
Those are just myths, and scientifically they've been proven that they don't exist.
You see, the baby one, so today in alone, I've learned two things. That the one about, kids having babies just so they can get an extra 380 a month, and the one where people they're taking money out of their accounts for insurance and for funeral policies, because those things, they don't contribute to your initial life. All of this.
Yes, no, they don't.
It's just lies.
They don't. And in terms of insurance, really, the funeral insurance, people have got their own funeral insurances.
They've got their own society.
They've got their own societies that they contribute on a monthly basis. Now, somebody comes to you and says, you can use your SASSA card, enter this. We've been said some of them go to the extent of saying that they're coming from SASSA. They've been sent by SASSA. Fill in this form. If you don't fill it, your grant next month, we won't get it. The next month, you realize that, no, my grant is less than 150 or 105 rands, Then they go to those people. So we're saying to people, you cannot die twice. Why do you need two funeral insurance policies, The one that you have at home is sufficient.
It's fine.
This other money, use it for other needs. And it's so sad because these things are done to older people. Who
Gullible
get,
people,
yes,
vulnerable people.
Old age grants. And you know, with that 1,600, this person has got stepchildren. This person has got grandchildren. This
They've
person
got
is looking
children.
after, he's got children who are not working. From that money doesn't only, go to them. And now imagine now if you then, on top of that, create a burden of unwanted and funeral
plans,
funeral policies.
cell
Yes,
phone
it's so
airtime.
sad, yeah.
I think that's the funniest thing I've heard today. You can't die twice. Why do you need 2 funeral policies? Time for a quick ad break. When we return, one more chat with Khomocho from SASSA. It's interesting. It's enlightening, isn't it? Come back. And welcome back to the final stretch of the show on Real Talk, right here on SABC3, where we're talking about an issue of national importance, social grants. We've got Khomocho in studio, who's from SASSA. Now, I hear that you guys give food parcels as well. Can you walk me through that and who's getting food parcels?
No, indeed, we do give people food parcels. Food parcels, they are given to people who are in dire straits. People who are not receiving social grants. I'll make an example. Somebody does not have an ID. By the way, we also give you a social grant even if you don't have an ID,
Sure.
as long as you qualify.
Okay.
So an ID for us is not an issue. For the time you are still awaiting your ID and you have applied, we will also give you in the meantime, we will not give you a social grant and a card, we will give you a food parcel. Yes. So
it's a daily food parcel then?
If there is a delay in terms of approving your grant, and the delay is because of us, for instance, we will give you a food parcel to can supplement you and ensure that at least you have something to put on the table.
So, for instance, a homeless person, right? The people who are standing on the robots begging, do they get food parcels from you guys?
There's criteria that have got some of them, but there's a criteria that we've got to go through.
Like, what criteria can a homeless person go through?
For instance, if a breadwinner dies,
Okay.
the breadwinner dies, and then you find that a child becomes the breadwinner, and that child is looking after other children, for some reason those children are not on a social grant.
Okay.
You can get a social grant, but a food parcel. But food parcels are not for everybody, and they are not. They will not be given on top of a grant.
Oh,
you can't have both.
You can't have both. You're
Yes,
either getting
you
the
can-
food parcels or you're getting the grant.
Or the grant, yes, that's how it works.
And in terms of foreigners, political asylum seekers, how does SASSA benefit them? Is it purely for just South Africans, or do we find ourselves, extending the hand and helping foreigners out?
We help people who are refugees. Who
Refugees, that's the word I
who
was
have
looking
got
for.
documentation that proves that they've gone through the relevant government institutions, and they are refugees that are here because of certain problems that they're having in their countries. Those type of people, we help them because they are here legally. It's important to stress that they're here legally and they qualify in terms of our criteria.
Because
Yes, we
to
do
be
help
fair,
them.
the government can't help somebody they don't know is here.
Yes,
So you'd
yes.
have to announce yourself that I am here,
Yes.
I need help, I am destitute, therefore I need your help.
Yes, because if you are a refugee, you are a visitor. You are visiting the government. I can put it that way. So you've
Okay.
got to be looked after if you qualify.
This is so interesting. When it comes to inflation, because earlier, Khomocho, you said that, as SASSA, you guys are tightening the belt because of the way the economy is going and the fact that Parliament and the government is not always going to give you guys this budget. So you have to watch where you spend your money. But then there's also a thing called inflation. Every year, things get more expensive. So that 12 kg Emily meal, if it was 60 Rand last year, this year it's going to be 70 Rand. So how are you balancing that? How are you making the grants match what the country is going through economically and through inflation?
We can only try and match that to the extent that the budget allows us, because you cannot spend outside the budget. But the good thing is that on an annual basis, the Minister of Finance makes an announcement and there's always a guaranteed increase in the amount of social grant money that you are going to be eligible for.
Are you not going to get into trouble for that statement? There's always a guaranteed increase in the money that social grants.
Well, I'm using hindsight. Hindsight and precedent.
Hindsight, the best teacher in the world. Okay, carry on.
Well, there is a precedent that every year, we do have those increases. Yeah, but we should be positive about where the economy is going.
Yeah.
And I think that we will be able to sustain the level of increase that we've been giving our people over time. And
I mean, you get a lot of crit from media when things like the company that is rolling out your social grants is mentioned that, the government gives them the money and then they take it and they keep it in their bank account and then they generate interest and then they make money from it and then they roll out the money like that. If there is money to be made through interest and that interest is being made from funds from the government, shouldn't we be keeping that internal? I don't know if you're allowed to be answering these questions. Like, shouldn't that be a South African company or a government, department that is generating interest from that money so that we can pay more money to social grants as opposed to allowing ACPS to generate interest and then take the money overseas?
Let's talk about this interest. On a monthly basis, we pay people on the 1st of every month. So about 3 days before the 1st of the month, we pay money into the CPS account.
Yes.
And then on the 1st of every month going forward, up to the 15th, CPS will be paying our social grant beneficiaries. During that month, somebody can die and their money will not be paid. And that's where some of the interest, accrues.
Okay.
You see, some of the money, find that a person does not draw it on the 1st, they draw it on the 15th.
That interest accrues as well.
Yes, but the good thing is that all that interest is returned to SASSA. It does come back to SASSA at a certain stage. So we are well aware of that. So it's not true that this money is taken by this company to wherever it takes it.
That money does. Feelings. Yeah.
No. We've got accountants in SASSA. We've got accountants in Treasury. They are on their toes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. Basically, you guys know what you're doing.
No, so far so good. Yeah, I think we've been doing very well.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to taking over this responsibility ourselves.
Okay. Look, you're getting a thumbs up from our side. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us. So many rumors that have been discarded out here. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much to my guests, Vuyokazi Fuchana, Homocho Tiseko, as well as Rendani Moraga, for coming through and enlightening us about social grants, welfare, and as well as SASSA. Join me again tomorrow. Amanda Black will be in the house, as well as Leanne Lamy. I cannot wait. Do not miss out right here on SABC 3. Good night, or good evening, and a good night. You know what I'm saying.
That's cheeky.